You ever had those moments where you can't help but think of that age-old saying, just rip it off like a band-aid? It's something that you don't look forward to. You don't necessarily want to do it. In fact, you are dreading doing it, but you know it needs to be done. So the best thing you can do, just like a band-aid, is rip it off, do what you need to do, get it done, and then you can move on. Today's video is one of those videos for me. Welcome back to Mr. Francy Reads. Okay, so today I'm going to be doing my CSL completed SAS list review of the trilogy The Infernal Devices by Cassandra Clare, otherwise entitled by me The Infernal Devices by Cassandra Clare. This is the first series ever on a SAS list that I have marked down as being complete, despite the fact that I DNF'd the final book in the series. So why, you may ask, it does beg the question, did I mark this series off as being complete when I DNF'd the final book in the series? Well, my dear friends, it is a case of book reader OCD. I marked the series off because I knew if I didn't, then it would force me to read book 3, to continue reading book 3, I should say, because I did begin it, to continue reading book 3 so that I could officially mark it off. The only way I would be able to rest in peace with having DNF'd the third book was to mark the entire series off as being completed. Did I enjoy this series? Overall, no. Why did I keep going? Because there were some things that I actually did love in books 1 and book 2. But okay, let me just give you some stats. First of all, this is a series that comes under the Shadowhunters universe by Cassandra Clare. Therefore, it is a YA fantasy series. And because it is a fantasy series, there are certain things that you expect in fantasies. And because it is a YA series, there are certain things you expect in YA. Let me give you an example. In YA, you should almost always expect for there to be love or romance or something to do with that. If you have a YA series that does not include a romance, please let me know what they are in the comment section below, because I feel like any YA author, no matter what genre they are writing, have signed a contract with any major publishing company, the one that they are going through, that says you will include a romance even if it kills you, because I have not read a YA that doesn't include a romance. So there you go. And that's targeted to a teenage audience. The fact that it's a fantasy series means that we expect for there to be something fantastical that is going to occur, and most likely there is going to be a battle that occurs between a side that represents as being good and a side that represents as being evil. All of this and more took place in this series. My biggest problem with this series was the side that represented as evil, and without telling you what happened, I will tell you spoiler-free that my issue with the evil side was that it, was not evil enough, and it just came across as being, I don't know, really immature. Not immature, I guess, that's not the right word. It just came across as being really boring, the evil side, and yeah. Infernal, to me, like, you know, I see that metaphorically as being annoying, and yeah, the evil side includes infernal devices, and those devices annoyed me to no end. So, if you are up for a ranting review of a series, then welcome to CSL completed SAS list series number 4, which is The Infernal Devices. Alright, let's start with book number 1, which is Clockwork Angel. Actually, before we do, I just need to make a very quick note. Despite the fact that I really did not enjoy this series as a whole overall, that is not to say that I don't enjoy the Shadowhunters universe. I have read all of the Mortal Instruments, and I just finished the Eldest Curses duology, and while I don't plan to continue with the Shadowhunters universe this year, I do plan to at least read one series of it next year, if not more. I have enjoyed the universe overall. It's just this series that I don't like. Alright, now on to book 1. So, book 1 is called Clockwork Angel. Again, it's a YA fantasy by Cassandra Clare. I gave this book 4 stars because, honestly, there were reasons why it deserved to get 4 stars. So let's talk about the premise. In this one, we follow Tessa, though it is multi-perspective. Tessa is the one main perspective, who has come to England from America to be with her brother. Little does she know that her brother's letter is going to lead her into the hands of the Dark Sisters, a truly evil force who wish to prime her for their master. Can Tessa escape? And if so, what would lie ahead for her future once she finds out what she truly is? Okay, so let me tell you my thoughts spoiler free, and yeah. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to let you all know so that you can jump around if you wish. I'm going to give you my thoughts spoiler free on book 1. Then I'm going to give you the premise and my thoughts spoiler free of book 2. Then I'm going to go into some spoilers after that. So in case you're just after spoiler free, we'll do that here at the beginning. So my thoughts on book 1. So the first 4 chapters also I found to be quite confusing. I, as I said, read the Mortal Instruments series and assumed at the very least that this series would be written in a similar vein. I felt almost disoriented by the first 4 chapters. However, after that, things settled back into what I know and love about Cassandra Clare's works, and I truly enjoyed the ride. My favourite character is Will. Truly enjoyed reading about him and seeing his character arc in book 1. I also appreciated having Tessa as the protagonist, especially given she doesn't know who or what she is, and we get to see her go through everything from her perspective. But the cherry on top of the proverbial cake was the appearance of a character from the Mortal Instruments series who made me very, very happy. And we will discuss that in the spoiler section. And overall, I gave this book 4 stars. Okay, so spoiler free, yeah. If it's not obvious in my review of my thoughts section, then I will just say what gave this book 4 stars to me was Tessa learning about who she is and Will as a character. Anything about the good versus evil trope that you come across when you read fantasies deserved nothing from me. No stars at all. So it's odd that I'm reading a fantasy book and saying, well, I liked some of the world building. I mostly liked a character or 2, maybe 3 at the most, but anything else to do with the fantastical elements, 0 stars. So, for a fantasy, that's odd because you would expect that more with, say, a contemporary or a romance. But anyway, I gave it 4 stars because I felt overall that it deserved that. But honestly, upon reflection, I think it actually deserves less. Maybe that's just overall. Maybe book 1 was okay. But I don't know. Let's move on to book number 2 because, yeah, maybe at the time I felt like everything just tied in together was 4 stars worth. But thinking back now, I don't know if I would give it 4 stars on reread, to be honest. Alright, book number 2 is called Clockwork Prince. Again, it's by Cassandra Clare. Again, it is a YA fantasy. So the premise of book number 2 is that we continue to follow Tessa, Will, Jem, and other shadow hunters as they look to find a way to stop the evil Mortmain. However, how tough will it be to track him down, especially when another shadow hunter is looking to overthrow Charlotte at the English Institute? So, a couple of things that have come up in that spoiler-free premise that we did not discuss with book number 1 is that Tessa ends up finding out that she is a shadow hunter. I don't think that that is a spoiler. This is the shadow hunters universe. If we're following a protagonist, it is quite, obvious to suspect that that protagonist is going to be a shadow hunter. So there you go. I think she finds out about 5 or 6 chapters into the first book, so it's really not a spoiler. And Charlotte is the head of the institute in England. So there are many different institutes of shadow hunters all throughout the world. And in the Mortal Instruments series, we follow the New York Institute, as well as in the Eldest Curses series, we do that as well. But in this one, we follow the English, or I think it's London Institute, don't quote me on that, but somewhere in England, Institute, and Charlotte runs that institute. So there is a shadow hunter that is part of the London Institute who wants to overthrow Charlotte. And to this point in the book series, there is no reason for us to believe that Charlotte should be overthrown. There is no reason for us to believe Charlotte is even a horrible person, let alone a horrible shadow hunter. So that is tough to face for everyone who grows to either simply accept Charlotte, like Charlotte, or even come to love Charlotte as a character. Alright, so to my thoughts on this one. Once again, I find myself enamored with Will. Yeah, so Will is a shadow hunter at the Institute who I grew to love. In the Mortal Instruments series, I absolutely love Alec Lightwood, and if you know me, you know this because not only have I talked about Alec many times when I talked about my Mortal Instruments series chats with you all when I read that series, but also Alec Lightwood is in my top 5 of favorite fictional characters of all time. So I absolutely just love him as a character. In this series, Alec is not there, and so I was looking to see if there would be a character, a shadow hunter that I did like, and I found myself gravitating towards Will. Will has a lot of things going on in his past that have him coming across, even though he is a shadow hunter and shadow hunters are a force of good in the world, he comes across as more of a dark and brooding character, and sometimes I do gravitate towards characters like that, and so I certainly did with Will, and the more I got to learn about Will, the more the layers would be pulled back with Will, the more I grew to love him as a character. So I just think that he is an interestingly complex character. His growth throughout the series has been a joy to live through. It's no longer okay, so with this next point, so in book 1, I said that there is a character who, from Mortal Instruments, is in this series. When I reviewed book number 2, I discussed who that character was. So I'm going to tell you who that is now because I honestly don't think it is a spoiler. I just think I thought it was a spoiler when reviewing book 1. And that is Magnus Bane. So Magnus is, I feel like Magnus is just going to be a feature throughout the entire universe, no matter what series you read, because so far Magnus has appeared in every single series I've read of Cassandra Clare's. So it's no longer a secret that Magnus Bane is featured in this series, and as a massive fan of Malik, the shipping of Magnus and my favorite character of all time in this universe, Alec, this does so much for me. For those of you who have not read this series, to describe Magnus as quickly as I can, Magnus is an eccentric and yet incredibly magnetic character. He is someone that is so easy to fall for. Magnus is one of those characters who doesn't give a what you think about him. He is just going to be his fabulously charming self. And if you want an idea of his fabulously charming self, Magnus wears glittery eyeshadow. He does not care. He is fabulous and he proves his fabulousness all throughout any book that he features in. And I just love him to pieces. So anytime that Magnus appears in any of the series, I just love those moments because of just how fabulous he is as a character. What else can I really say? Magnus is a warlock, and he is, I don't know if he's immortal or not. I keep forgetting if he is, but he's been around for a very long time and doesn't look like he's going away anytime soon. So that's how he manages to appear no matter what series it is in, because he's very old, but he doesn't come across as old. Anyway, I don't know. I feel like if you haven't read this series, think of the whole vampire lore where once you're turned to a vampire, you kind of stay looking the age you were when you were turned. Magnus always looks young to me. So, but anyway, he's a fabulous character. So I delight in each and every moment that I get to have with him. Something that was letting me down, however, with this book is the evil of the story. In a sense, while trying to find Mortmain, the evil character, we're trying to stop these robot devices. And for a Shadowhunter's world, this does not intrigue me even slightly. Yeah, so in the Mortal Instruments world, it didn't matter what force of evil we were fighting. I always found it intriguing to one degree or another. But in this case, we're fighting evil robot thingies. And seriously, it just, I can't imagine being scared of these evil robot thingies. It just doesn't work for me, especially in a fantasy world. This is fantasy. It's not sci-fi. If it were sci-fi, it would make more sense. But because it is purely fantasy, I don't get it. But also I'm rather bored by it. There are so many amazing fantasies out there with so many amazing magic systems. So to have the evil minions of the evil overlord be robots just incredibly bored me, to be honest. So in saying that though, the characters are friends that I've grown to love while reading this particular series in the Shadowhunters universe. I also found what happened with Jasmine to be interesting. And as to Tessa, I do love her as a character. However, there were some things that went on with Tessa that I wanted to discuss, as well as with another character whose name is Jem. But all in all, while it's not my favorite series by far, it is a series that had kept me intrigued enough to keep going. And that was my thoughts on book 2, spoiler free. And I think honestly that wraps up my reading experience for book 1 and book 2, which is definitely by far and away not one of my favorite series. And that's putting it politely, but there was enough intrigue for me to want to keep going, and that was mainly based on the characters. I grew to love the characters, and that is an odd thing for me because I am not at all, even slightly, a character-driven reader. I am 100% a plot-driven reader. So if you can have many characters in a series that I grow attached to and grow to love, then that will bode very well for you as an author, for me. Okay, so I'm going to now discuss some spoilers for book number 2, and then I'm going to discuss some spoilers for book 3, including why I ended up ultimately DNFing book 3, and then we're going to come back and I'll give you some more spoiler-free thoughts. So let's put a spoiler tag up on the screen, and if you would like to just continue on with spoiler-free thoughts, just scroll through this video until you no longer see the spoiler tag up, and then it will just be me doing spoiler-free stuff to the end. But you have been warned. I've spent enough time warning you, so here we go. We're going into the spoiler section in 3, 2, 1, let's go. Spoiler, 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 you have been warned. Okay, so let's talk about what was going on with Jasmine in book 2. I also found what happened with Jasmine interesting. Having seen the Sword of Truth used in the main Shadowhunter series, The Mortal Instruments, it was great seeing it again. I also loved how she was a traitor, as I didn't expect it, and therefore it just felt very different and exciting. As to Tessa, while I do love her as a character, the idea that she can only transform into others and then access their memories is quite dull for me. I think it would have been better for me to have read this series before the Mortal Instruments one. Yeah, and even reading that now, that's what I put in my review, I completely agree with that, because yeah, it's just quite lame for this world. Having come off the Mortal Instruments series where the abilities that the Shadowhunters have were just really fantastic, it seemed rather boring / lame to me that all Tessa can do is just morph into different things. Like, I mean, I don't know. It's just like, oh, okay, that's your power. That's nice. It kind of reminds me of, have any of you watched the original Charmed, and how Phoebe, before she got her levitation power, she was just like, oh yeah, I have the boring passive one, the power of premonition, you know? It was the same with Tessa. Like, oh, okay, all she can do is just, you know, change into different things. Oh, okay, that's just lovely. Let's just move right along. You know, I mean, anyway. So that was my thought on that one. Quickly going back to the whole Sword of Truth thing. Yeah, so the Sword of Truth came up in the Mortal Instruments series as well as the Shadowhunters TV series, and I love the Sword of Truth. Cassandra Clare is great at doing many different things, maybe not in this series, but overall in the Shadowhunters universe, she has done amazing world-building work, and I love the addition of the Sword of Truth in that once you touch it, you need to tell the truth. And if you don't, you're going to be in excruciating agony. I love that. It's a great way to force the truth out of someone in a fantastical fantasy series. So I loved that the Sword of Truth made an appearance in this universe. As to Jem, while I was happy for Tessa that she happily accepted his proposal he made, I felt heartbroken for Will. I highly doubt he'll end up with Magnus, but unless he does, I really wanted, as my second choice, Will to end up with Tessa. Yeah, so look, I can understand why Tessa would end up choosing Will in book 2, because why she would end up choosing Jem in book 2, because Jem is the character that, you know, we have sympathy for with the illness and everything that he's going through. I get it, you know, sympathy card, sympathy card, sympathy card. Jem is the sympathy card character. And Tessa is great with him and they have a good connection and that's all wonderful. But I like my dark and brooding characters. I love Will. Gosh dang it. Okay, I love Will. And no, that shouldn't have happened. Just like for me, there's a Harry Potter ship that really annoyed me. And let's just say that I did not agree with who Harry, Hermione, and Ron ended up with at the end of the series. There you go. That's not giving you a spoiler for Harry Potter, because I would have done things differently. But anyway, we'll just move on, because I don't decide who ends up with who unless I write the book myself, and I don't have enough interest in this particular series to do a fanfic, so I'm going to let that go. But yeah, I would have preferred her to end up with Will than to end up with Jem. It is what it is. Will is just an intriguing character, and aside from Magnus, Will is the absolute savior for me in this series. As I said, I love the peeling back the layers of who he is, how he came to be who he is, the curse that was on him or that was assumed to be on him, and therefore how he navigates life owing to that curse. And yeah, I just love Will so much. I have so much love for Will. And Magnus. I can have Magnus on every single page and still not get sick of Magnus. He is amazing. I love how things went down in the Mortal Instruments and the Shadowhunters show with, I won't spoil it since it is another series and you may not have read it, but I'll just say Magnus at the wedding with Alec, right at the beginning of, right in book 1 or the beginning of the Shadowhunters TV series. Yes, that is, oh my gosh, yes, that gives me so much life. And I have loved Magnus since before then, actually, since the first time he met Alec. So, but anyway, yeah, so anytime Magnus can feature, that would be great. Now let's quickly talk about why I DNF'd book number 3. Okay. Ultimately, while I did love the characters, the overall story did not intrigue me. These freaking robots and this freaking worm thing that went on. Oh my gosh, so he turned into a freaking worm. Are you kidding me? No. I was so done. And I was very fortunate because my dear friend Michelle, from the booktube channel Cozy Reading with Michelle, she was continuing to read it, and then she DNF'd book 3 as well at a certain point, and then her partner was continuing to read. So I was getting updates from her and her partner on what was going on, and the more I kept getting updates, the more I realized, yes, thank God I DNF'd it. I don't regret it for a second, but I wanted to know certain things like how the series wrapped up and stuff like that, just so that, I could know how things would end. And I'm glad that I know how it ended. And yeah, that's great. But, the series wasn't for me. So let's take the spoiler tag off the screen. I'm just going to quickly wrap things up spoiler free. I think that it is important to read this series for the sake of, if you are planning to read every book in the Shadowhunters universe, this is one of the series in the Shadowhunters universe. I can also say that Tessa, at the very least, makes an appearance in the, can't think of what the series is called, the Eldest Curses duology. So it ties in a little bit. If you know Tessa, it's more satisfying. She makes an appearance in book 1 to warn Magnus of something. And then in book 2, something massive happens with Tessa that doesn't make sense if you haven't read this series. So therefore, if you're planning to read every single book in the Shadowhunter series, then I'd say that you should read this series. But if you don't plan on reading, or if you're happy to be picky and choosy with what you read when it comes to the Shadowhunters universe, you can give this one a miss, in my opinion. Overall, this one incredibly let me down. The evil side of this series just wasn't evil enough at all. It wasn't believable to me that they would be scared and find Mortmain a scary character, or a threat at all. These robot thingies and just the way the robot thingies were defeated, which I did not talk about in my spoiler section, but the way they were defeated was so freaking simple that what is the point? Like, okay. If Cassandra Clare was a new author and this was her very first series, I would say, okay, it's her first series, she can only grow from here, but it's not her first series. I think her first series she wrote was the Mortal Instruments. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments below. And that was so good. So then to go from that to this, this was just lame. I'm sorry it was, but the absolute highlights of this series are the characters. I fell fell in love with Will from day dot and continue to fall in love with Will despite the fact that I DNF'd in book 3. I was still heavily falling in love with Will. Magnus is an amazing highlight to the series, and I'm glad that they included him in it. And in many ways, he is the saving grace of the series, because without Magnus and Will, I probably would have DNF'd a whole lot earlier. I do appreciate what Jem went through, but I wasn't his number one fan. I do think he's a great character. If I had to choose, let's just put it this way, if Will and Jem were both dying and I could only save one, I'm jumping on top of Will, and I think a lot of other people will probably jump on Jem, but that's absolutely fine. That's just how it is. There's a servant girl in this series and I don't remember her name, and I wish I did, but I love her. I don't remember her name, but she is the one who's helping Tessa at the beginning, helping her get dressed and do her hair and whatever. Her, if you read the series, you know who I mean. I do love her. Charlotte, I grew to love. Charlotte's partner, I grew to love, who once again, I forgot his name as well. But as I say, on the whole, this series just didn't entice me. The characters did, the plot did not. And so that's why I ended up ultimately DNFing book number 3. But you know what? The video's done now, so I can move on. If you agree or disagree with me, that is absolutely fine. You know, one of the greatest things about reading is that readers themselves are not monoliths. I have an opinion, you have an opinion. Our opinions are just as likely to be exactly the same as they are to be radically different. So whether you agree or disagree, sound off in the comments below and let me know what you thought of this series overall. It just wasn't the series for me. But to answer the question, is this series going to demotivate me from continuing on with the series? Absolutely not. I will absolutely continue to read the Shadowhunters series. I just feel like this was a blip on the universe. Sorry, the Shadowhunters, from the Shadowhunters world. I just feel like this series was a blip on the Shadowhunters universe as a whole. Alright, but that is where I am going to leave it for now. If you have any further comments, thoughts, and or questions, please do not hesitate to let me know in the comments below. But in the meantime, I'm going to let you all go with peace, blessings, and so much love. Please do be kind and love one another and spread your sparkling energy all throughout the world. And until next time, happy reading. Bye everyone.